Hello everybody, welcome to Sure Shot Archery. Anthony here, and in this video I'm going to talk about the new Sure Shot Archery Tungsten Points for Easton X10s. Now, a lot of the things are staying the same, but we have one pretty big new addition to the point this year, and that's going to be grooves. Now, let's first take a step back, and I want to kind of walk you through the whole thought process on how we got to here, starting with the original point. When I first decided to try to make some tungsten points, I kind of went through the process of, well, what is wrong with the Easton ones? And some major things kind of popped up that were major problems with the Easton points. First was the price. Easton points, X10 points are very expensive. They are still very expensive. And with that came a point that worked fine, but it seemed to have a lot of different flaws. So I kind of made a list of these flaws, such as when you put your point into the shaft, it wouldn't always stay flush. So, that was one point besides the price. Price was number one, because again, our goal here at Sure Shot Archery is we're making affordable, but, very quality archery products. We want a very good product, but at a really reasonable price, because why should you be extorted? Basically, it's like some of these archery companies it's like the mafia. So I am going to try to break apart the mafia to an extent, within reason, until I disappear. But continuing on. So when you put an Easton point into a shaft, sometimes they wouldn't seat really nicely. The issue with that is where the shank attaches to the head of the point. It's not always a 90-degree angle. It's usually like more rounded. It's more like a cup than it is like a box. Well, that cup doesn't let your point always seat in correctly. So that was one of the first things we wanted to correct, and we did that by adding a very small cutout under the head of the point to let the point seat more flushly with the shaft. Continuing down, the shank didn't change on the original Sure Shot Archery point that I have here. We figured, that's fine. We did leave the head of the point exactly the same to the Easton, and it's staying exactly the same on the new 2022 points, by the way. That's not changing. But as we continue down the shank, we got to the weights. The Easton weights, talking to a lot of other archers, and from my own personal experience, they sometimes had a problem with cracking or breaking. It seems like they would make the break-offs too narrow, and maybe some of it has to do with the material, but probably has to do with removing too much material to make the break-offs break-offable, that they were just automatically breaking off. They were breaking off by themselves. So for my points, we made a little bit thicker break-offs so that would hold up a little bit better, and we basically maintained that into the new points as well. Other than that, though, that's kind of where we get to adding the grooves. Because the first version of Sure Shot Archery points were pretty popular, I got to be in contact with a lot of really great archers that have been shooting archery way longer than I have, and I'm on, working on a couple decades here now. So I had got a wealth of information, a ton of feedback, and honestly, I would say 99.9% of the feedback is people are just really excited, and they're just blown away by how much more they were getting for such a cheaper price compared to the Easton ones and some of the other brands on the market too. Because generally speaking, the rule of thumb is, good is not usually cheap, and cheap is not usually good. I tried to combine the two where you were getting good for cheap, and most people don't do that. So that's how we got to the grooves, and that's why I'm adding the grooves. This was just a recommendation from other archers and from some of these really top archers in the world. They were like, hey, we're not having an issue with your points, but since your goal is to basically knock Easton down a peg in terms of, hey, why don't you provide better quality products for your consumers, we recommend, Sure Shot Archery to add, some grooves. Add some grooves in, see, do some testing on it, see how it works, and see if that is going to further improve the product. So I took their recommendations and feedback, and I have added 6 grooves. We got 3 in the middle and 3 on the back end. We did not add any to the front because you already got the notch there right below the head of the point. And do you really need even more grooves in the front? It's more important that the grooves are in the back because they're going to be in the shaft, so then there's more glue and stuff that has to get pulled out before it actually comes out of the arrow. If we had moved them all to the front, then there's not going to be as much holding in the back end. It just seemed to work out better. And through our testing, the testing I've done at home here, and actually I have a video on, which I'll have to put out at some point. I actually tested out the grooves versus not grooves, and having grooves on your points, especially if you break them down to 100 grains, is basically twice as good in terms of like holding weight. I tested this by just hanging weights off the points, using the same amount of glue on each one and the same type of glue on each one, and then seeing how much weight they could hold before the points pulled out. The ones with the grooves held basically twice the amount of weight that the non-grooved points held. And this was further amplified if they did not have their break off. So if you just buy Sure Shot Archery solid 100 grain points with no break offs, the grooves drastically improve how well the point adheres to the inside of the arrow shaft. Completely knocks Easton ones or any other brand that doesn't have grooves out of the water. There's the second place is a long way away. Now, it also helps, and I want to stress this point, it also helps if you use the correct glue on the Sure Shot Archery website. Under the points, we have an extra section talking about installation and proper installation of the points and proper gluing of the points, and our recommendations, or my recommendations of what type of glue to use. Some of this was based off of Easton's recommendations, and then I kind of went a step further into testing and actually seeing for myself what actually works, applying what I've learned and the feedback I'm getting from some of these top archers in the world. And those are my recommendations, Sure Shot Archery's recommendations for installing and gluing in your points, including the type of glue that you should use. So I'm not going to name all of it, you can look it up, because if we do find better glues in the future, I want this video to still be relevant. I don't want to be advertising glues that don't exist or whatever. So look it up, see all the latest and greatest recommendations on actually gluing your points in so that they stay, because really you should not have a problem. most of the cases that I found with people's points pulling out were due to either poor cleaning of the arrow, of the point, or poor glue choices where they were using glues that weren't even recommended for the type of shaft, the Easton X10 shaft, and tungsten points. Like, they were supposed to be for carbon-only shafts, not carbon aluminum shafts. So some people were making some mistakes there. So I just want to clarify that point. Besides adding the grooves, because we had to remove material from the shank of this shaft, we had to put it somewhere. Because the point weighs a certain amount, and you want that weight to stay the same. So we can't just make that material disappear. We have to add it in somewhere. So what we did was, leaving the points, the heads of the points the same size, we just added the extra material into the back of the shank, and that was highly recommended by the top archers that I kind of consulted with about this particular change to the points, and they agreed. They think it was a great way to do it, especially since it also translates back into the 100 grain points with no break-offs. Now their shanks are a little bit longer, which is even more adhesion to the inside of the arrow shaft, thus making it stay in better. Big improvement. All right, so that pretty much wraps up this kind of unveiling, detailed video of the new Sure Shot Archery 2022 points. We are going to just call them Sure Shot Archery Tungsten points. The 2022 part will drop once I get done clearing out my inventory of the older 20 and 2021 tungsten points. I got a few left. They are on clearance currently, so you can get them while they're still there. Of course, if you are going to Lancaster Classic or the Vegas shoot, the big one's going to be the Vegas shoot because I'm actually going to have a booth there. I'm going to be shooting and running a booth at the same time. It's going to be quite the endeavor, but I'm going to have a ton of inventory there, and I'm going to have the older points there. There's nothing wrong with them. They work fantastic. I'm actually still currently shooting them because I rather get the brand new ones out to my fellow archers before myself because I'll get around to putting them in because they do work fantastic. Of course, I shoot 120s, so I don't really have to worry about points falling out. And at the same point in time, I use the correct glue, and I've never had that problem, especially with these points. Oh, another important thing is colors. So the way we're going to do colors is the new points are going to be silver, gold, and black. As of right now, the main goal is to make sure that there's inventory and it's available, and then from there we may bring back like the chromatic color or other colors depending, but at this point in time just silver, gold, and black. So currently the only chromatic points still available are the 2020, 2021 years 100 grain points that are on clearance now, so you can get them on clearance, but they are not going into the 2022 year. As of right now, it doesn't mean that they're gone forever. Just as of right now, it was easier to get this all going with just the three colors, the three standard colors. Another important thing is pricing. People are probably like, "Oh, great, he made them more fancy. They have grooves now. Great, there goes the pricing." Nope. The price is still exactly the same. It's going to be $100 for a 100 grain point. It's a dozen of them. It's going to be $120 for 120 grain points. And when I get them in, there'll be $140 for 140 grain points. We still have 140s in the old design. They really don't need grooves and stuff, but they're going to get them anyway because all the points are going to have them because it just works better. Your points are never going to pull out unless you do some stuff with them, some sketchy stuff with them. All right, so other than that, that is pretty much everything about the new points. Basically grooves, they hold better. It made the shanks a little bit longer because the material had to go somewhere, but that makes it hold even better. And I really appreciate the feedback from the top archers in the world because, I didn't have any complaints really about them falling out besides people using the wrong glue. But I rather make the best product possible, as affordable as possible, and I really appreciate that because then I can bring it to you guys, which really makes me happy because archery is really expensive, especially when you get to this level of stuff. It kind of gets a little absurd. So if I can help my fellow archers out, that's really good. Other than that, while we're here, I actually made another shirt. It's been a while, but we have happy shooting shirts with this really cool like fade sorta. It's like almost like a spray paint design of a target with the happy shooting. Got a little X in the middle. Pretty cool. It's got Sure Shot Archery just across the back here. Nothing else. So pretty straightforward and simple, but we're always into happy shooting here at Sure Shot Archery, and I figured, well, it's about time I make a shirt that actually says that. So I will have them as well at Vegas and Lancaster. Of course, order them through my website is probably even easier because it will be limited quantities at those two because I can only bring so much stuff. Please be sure to check out the website, sureshotarchery.com. The new 2022 points are up there. Can't wait to see what everybody says about them. My testing has been great. My feedback from my top shooters all over the globe has been great as well. So I'm really looking forward to really helping a lot of people out with this. Other than that, happy shooting, and I'll see you guys in the next video.